Welcome back to part 2.
Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
Not what
Give me
his numbers
five.
are. He's not good at math. Always remember that, guys.
I'm good enough, dadgummit.
You're watching OMJJ Pop-Up Podcast Part 2 in Hairlines Salon. So please keep in mind that today we were talking about excellence in communication. Our first topic was dealing with before the customer even gets in the door. So now we're going to do the second half of it. So once they're in the door, how do we treat them? When someone walks in your door after you've given them technology to schedule their appointments and you've checked up and followed through as far as what they want, so you know what they want when they get there, and now they're here.
Right.
What's that experience like for them? Walk us as if you are a customer. What does that look like?
Well, once they walk in the door, I'm up front, so I always greet them, my customer, everybody's customers. Hello, welcome to Hairlines, something of that nature. And then we have assistants in the salon, which has been a staple of mine for many, many years. It's just vitally important that you're not trying to do everything yourself. Plus, you're also helping to encourage another stylist, be they stylist or whatever, they can get the experience in the salon. So our assistant knows that when the customer comes in, they're to be Johnny on the spot. You go up, you greet them, find out, if they're my customer or someone else's, and then let them know, I'll be with you in a minute, or we're ready to have you come back. All right, so that's their initial contact is with the assistant. And our goal with all of our assistants is to give them as much understanding of customer service as we have. So every time we bring in a new assistant, I'm gonna work with them hand in hand until they comfortably service that customer as I would. Okay. So some salons don't want to work with assistants because they feel like I've got to do everything hands-on. I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm capable of training someone to give excellent service.
That's right.
And so the assistants will get the client, take them back. They understand that they have a certain standard that must be met on that client. Okay. Because I want the client's hair cleaned well, conditioned well, detangled gently. I don't want their hair being pulled or tugged. I want them comfortable at every stage of the service with the assistant. And I make known to our assistants that, you really control the flow of that service. Mm-hmm. If you give them good service at the shampoo bowl, that's going to make my job easier. If you're back there and your service to them, lacks something, then they're going to be a little bit irritated. Mm-hmm. So that's going to make my job harder in terms of how I satisfy them. But we have a good crew right now of assistants, and they generally can just nail it. And when they don't, I stop what I'm doing just for the minute to let them know. So that keeps them on point. They know that they're going to hear it if it doesn't. If their hair is not clean, I've had a lot of stylists that work here and stylists that I mentioned over the years that used to work most of them start out as assistants. Okay. Because you're getting that first-hand service with the client, and they know over the years if that client's hair, when I start blow dry, if it's got any kind of smoke or something like that,
smell, anything, right?
Yeah, generally it's not smell, generally smoke. And I say smoke because sometimes they condition the hair and you don't really rinse all the conditioner out. I know that you didn't do it as long as it needed to be or as thorough as it needed to be. And if that client wants that hair to feel clean, fresh, and flowy, if you've got too much conditioner left in, it's going to make your hair, hard, stiff, and stale, and that's just not acceptable. Okay. So, they have a routine that we expect, and generally they measure up to it because they don't want me walking to the back and saying, "Okay, this is not quite right,"
all right,
or redo this, So that, but the clients know that, and a lot of our clients, they know for years we've worked with assistants, so they understand that sometimes we're training. They understand too that if I need to rinse more, they may have to go back. And clients are usually okay because they know I'm trying to provide an excellent service.
That's right.
So they've had that good experience in the back, and then the next step they get into my chair. So at that point, then I start to manipulate their hair. help to finish the service, if if it was if it's a cut or style or whatever, I review what it is that we talked about, so that I generally keep my phone, and I've generally had them.
She pulls the phone out, guys. I've seen her.
They've sent me a picture, so I'm constantly checking to make sure that I'm on point with the color, the cut, and the style.
That's right.
And so that, at the end of the service, I can post this picture right along with theirs and say, this is what they wanted, this is what they got. And hopefully, they match perfectly or as close as I possibly can.
Well, I appreciate hearing that. So part of what you said was training of the staff that work in this environment. So I think training is important, even as a business owner. It's important to understand the industry that you're in so that you can begin the communication of what you're capable of. But training of your additional staff persons is equally as important, because they are an extension of you. And the good part too is you communicate to the customer, we just need you to get clean one more time just to make sure it's all out.
Yeah.
So every step of the way you're communicating with your assistants, you're communicating with your customer. All of that is hugely important because we all need to be on the same page.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And then the customer feels like you're really taking care of them from every step. Even though you use assistants, they know I've got that under control too, because I'm taking care of them at every step of the service.
I was just sitting there being impressed the whole time you was running your mouth, because the initial interaction highly determines, or it can make or break the end result.
Absolutely.
And that's the communication process 102.7 FM. And basically, if you start good, your chances of ending good are good.
You nailed it.
But if you start bad, your chances of ending bad are probably good, because you end bad.
That's correct.
So it's vital that when the person comes in the door, they're going uphill.
Yes.
And it's important that the next person doesn't necessarily bring them down, but they got to stay on that same level, or they have to raise it.
That's right.
And what you said was, from station to station to station to station, they have to keep on feeling great. They have to keep on feeling the same way.
They do.
My question to you is, how did you come to that conclusion? Because it takes sometimes weeks and months for me to teach people this concept.
I think end result, I learned a lot of practices by reading. Stephen Covey is one of my, early on books that I read.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, absolutely.
I read all the time.
Yeah. And you have to read and reread it.
Yes. The more you read, the more you get.
Yeah. So
Yes.
begin with the end in mind.
Yes, very good.
So, I know that, everything, like you said, that happens along the way determines how the end is going to be.
Yes.
So that's why, even if it's the assistant, whoever's interacting with the client, I'm still tuned in so that I can make sure that I get to the end that I want.
Exactly. And the most fascinating thing about what you said is, it works in every aspect of life.
Yes.
If
It does.
you're a parent,
Yes.
if you're a teacher,
Yes.
if you're a pastor, if you teach a roller skate,
Yeah.
if you're trying to teach somebody how to knit and yarn, it's the same concepts.
Yes.
You're learning chemistry, it's the same
It is.
flow.
It is.
That if it starts off good, the communication is good, it's going to end the same way.
Yes.
How many mindsets have you changed in your environment for people to understand that same concept?
Interestingly enough, early on when I got a hold of it, anything I get a hold of, it doesn't matter what it is. If I'm at boot camp and I'm exercising this year, I'm dragging everybody out there with me.
You're a dragger.
I'll drag you. If, unless you just have
Gangster.
so much resistance that I have to just turn loose. Yeah. But, if I feel that something's good for the mind, the body, the soul, I'm going to try and encourage everyone in my circle to partake. So with that, when I found the Stephen Covey book, which was, I don't know, probably 20 years ago, 15 years ago, our shop meetings would be meetings where we would go over each one of those principles. And some of the girls resisted. They resisted. I would assign one of the girls at the next meeting, you're going to tell us what this principle is and make application, and you know, they fought, they cried, they were like, they want to read, they want to, I said, it's only one, one principle. It's only one principle. Just, and then the others somebody else will have to do. And so we struggled through it, and you know, I would get up and finish it, define it. I would let them do the best they could do, and then I would, you know, finish it. And years later, a girl that used to that work here, doesn't work anymore, she says, you know, I remember when you did that, and those were some of the best meetings, and you know, so you get the reward much later, even though you're just grueling through, and you know, they try to avoid it, and they don't want to do the work, but you know, I knew that if you could just taste the concept, it could
taste the concept. Well, you got some books today.
So, you know, I pushed and I think it's just beneficial. It was beneficial to those that partook.
I think what's important in what you said, and this is where I think sometimes business owners and entrepreneurs get it mixed up. The customer is first, and the customer does come first, and you have to show and display that you do care about the customer, but you got to put your employees at a very high level. And by you taking the time out to have those classes and those sessions with the book, you're showcasing to them and you're displaying to them that I care about you. And
absolutely.
If you show that you care, people will turn around and communicate the same thing for you. So what happens is when somebody's in somebody's head or when they're greeting at the front door, they're thinking subconsciously, I want to make her proud because she is taking the time out to invest in me.
That's right.
I think that's true.
So I think it's so powerful that you're doing it without even knowing that it's happening. And the fact that the young lady came back and told you that, you made an indelible imprint on the impact on what she's trying to do with her life. If she can come back and tell you that, then you must have did something right. I mean, how does that kind of stuff make you feel?
Oh man, it's unmeasurable joy when you can have a positive effect on people, and you know that you gave them something that bettered their life. It's immeasurable joy.
You made my life better.
Well, good.
Can you cook? Are you married? I'm just playing. I'm about to say. Oh, you Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I appreciate hearing that, because that's another part of this excellence in communication, the impact that you have on people. I don't think as leaders and as business owners we see that enough. We think we're just in business to make money, not realizing everything we do, everything we say, our interactions, our actions, they affect other people.
They do.
And more importantly, you want it so that what you put out is what you get back. I always say you have to give it away to keep it. And so you educating not only your staff about the things that you were doing personally to develop yourself, that helped them grow as individuals and as stylists. Same thing as the overall culture of the salon here. So something big that when I was in my graduate school, we looked at organizational culture and what that looks like, and how do you create an environment where everybody is happy to work there and the leader is a great leader, and there aren't no followers, there are people that just are alongside of you because you all are a team. And it sounds like to me everything you just described is how you created that culture. What you communicated to them was, we are together as one. People that are listening right now, please take heed to, she's been around this long because of her ability to communicate effectively to everybody that comes in contact with her and her business. That stuff is important. And if you think that not communicating, for instance, we'll get into this in a second, not following up with a customer is not important. Not checking on your staff when they're sick or someone dies in their family is not important. ignoring the fact that there's a lot of things that's going on in your business space, meaning you don't have happy employees, you know your customer service is not that great. Ignoring all those signs, all is communication.
It is.
Okay? It really is. It's communication. And you ignoring all those things will end your trajectory of your business, if that makes sense, because you're creating an environment where you're training them up how they should be. Rather it be you training your customer that this is what good customer service looks like. Rather it's your stylist, this is how you give good customer service, and then the whole environment where, hey, we're doing this all together as a family. That's great.
Are you mad when they leave and start their own businesses, or is that what you want them to do?
No, I'm never mad when a person seeks to elevate themselves. That's ridiculous. You know, I know sometimes when salons have staff, and I've had it happen multiple times. I think the only time I'm bothered is when they think that their success means my demise, meaning that they may go around to other stylists that are working here and say, I'm opening a new salon, it's gonna be all that, I need you to come with me, we gonna rise together. But that to me is more like an adulterous relationship.
Wow.
You know, if you two conspire and you end up together like two adulterers, it can't be happy, and it oftentimes fails. So I've had people leave both ways. Sometimes they leave, you know, if you come to me and say, hey, I'm all for it, I'm gonna help you, what can I do to help? But if you're creeping around and trying to make a deal on the, you know, in the back, it generally doesn't last. So I love it when someone grows, you know, and I think people that work with me should have known that. But sometimes you just don't know how to say I'm leaving.
Man.
Well, a lot of times
It's so hard.
we can't break that up,
to say goodbye.
but people's backgrounds and their upbringing dictate how their lives are going to be.
Right.
So if they've been in a situation where people are always sneaking from them, all they know is how to sneak from you.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily their fault.
Yes,
but
it's who they're made of, what they're made of.
It's how they were created,
Yeah.
unless a lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Now, I heard something earlier when you were talking. You like to encourage your clientele, I mean your employees.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, because I think that you can only be better if you make the people around you better. Some people think, well, if I open a salon and I get these people to work for me, I'm going to look good, I'm going to be the one. But the reverse generally happens, because if you're only focused on yourself and you never build up the people around you, you're doomed to failure. So I think that you can only be successful if you make the people around you successful.
Yeah, because there's a corporate mentality that if I train this person to be better than me, that person's going to take my job.
Right.
You're not worried about that.
Never. No,
She's
you can't.
Mrs. Pitts.
Well, I've never lost by sharing.
Another book. Never lost by sharing.
Never.
I
You
love
know.
it.
And your name should be Sharon. That'd be so good. Oh my goodness.
Right. Sharing with Sharon.
You could probably sell about 15 copies of those in prison. I would buy one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to jail to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and I try to remind stylists of that, because I mean, I'm physically only able to do so many people a day.
That's right.
Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
Let's be
So you can't ever lose by sharing.
Can't never lose by sharing.
I like that. So
By sharing.
what are your thoughts on creating friendships in this work environment? Do you see it as a benefit? Do you find that sometimes it could not be a benefit? What are your thoughts about that?
I think we all, when you spend more time together than you do with your family, you know, you develop a relationship.
Yes.
Now, how you define that relationship is up to you.
Very good.
I guess, you know, my relationship is always one of family. You know, I look at the people that I spend the most time with as family, and I try to treat them as I would, you know, my daughter. Sometimes my daughters get jealous because I treat the other girls like they're my daughters. You know, and maybe she won't like me saying that, but you know,
we might edit it out. But if you sing it over, she apologizes.
But I treat the people that I'm with as I wouldn't do anything to them that I wouldn't do to my daughter.
Now, there's a fine line with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people you work with can be too comfortable.
Yeah.
Where they think, you the boss and they up here with you.
Right.
That's not, I'm sure that's not what goes on here.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they get too comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're like, let me borrow $50.
Oh, no.
Or they say, I'm coming by your house for Thanksgiving. They might even ask you to invite you.
Yeah.
Or this, that, and the other. And they get too comfortable. They start talking to you.
Yeah.
Like they your homies.
So how do you put boundaries on that?
I think that I want people to know that I care about them and their welfare.
But you the boss. Jefe.
Well, I don't, bosses, that's a word, but I always consider them my co-workers. We're working together on a project to the success of this business. Mm-hmm. So I don't really like the word boss.
Okay, but are they your equal?
Oftentimes they're striving to get where I am, and I realize everybody's not where I am in terms of their ability to grow their business. So they're working, and I'm encouraging them to work toward it. And some people don't want to be a boss. They're okay with not being a boss.
Yeah.
They're okay working along with you. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Come on.
So it's okay
Too
not
many
to.
spatulas, not enough forks.
Yeah, it's okay to not be a boss because the boss comes with certain pressures.
A lot of pressures.
And sometimes I'm okay doing what I do. I'm okay supporting you in what you do. So oftentimes that dynamic, you find people who are your team or your family. The ones that want to be a boss, they go on to being bosses. You can't have two in the same house.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
How about
Yeah. So that it may be time.
That's right.
And it's okay.
So right, there's nothing wrong
I'm going to
with that.
support you in
Yes,
that.
yes.
That's right.
It's okay.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you said the most important part. Not only is it okay, is that also I'm going to support you in that.
Yes.
So don't think that I'm going to stop your shine. And I think that's important in these kind of environments when you have people that work with you. They may outgrow you, you may outgrow them, and then it's okay for y'all both to have that conversation and understand, listen, this may not be the best situation for either one of us.
Yes.
And have that discussion and keep it moving.
Yeah. And hopefully if they've got the aspirations, they'll let me help.
Wow, how
That's
about
smart.
that?
Yeah.
That's smart.
I want to help.
That's smart.
That's
That's
right.
smart.
It doesn't take away
That's real smart. That's super
unless you're
smart.
underhanded. Back door.
How's that conversation go?
No backdoor stuff, okay, guys?
If they're
Don't be shady.
If they want to get their own business, that they want to branch out, and they
Yeah.
come to you, how does
Right.
it usually go?
I'll give them, sometimes people come to our beauty supply business and they want to open a salon. So I give them the advice that, understand that this is different than running a chair. You're responsible for other people and their livelihood. Are you ready to help other people grow? And if you're not, the business can't grow. So I try to give them a dose of reality. And if you still want to move, okay, so here's some things you should put in place that can help the business be successful.
Nice.
So, if you want to go ahead, let me just at least give you some guidelines about customer service excellence.
That's right.
And all those things that I've told you today are the things that I tell them because I know it's important for longevity.
So what are your thoughts about family and business?
I actually have family in business. Like I mentioned, when I started the salon, I've had 3 nieces, 2 daughters, and other family members that have worked along in the business with me. Some people say you can't work with your family, but I think if you establish a standard
Yes.
of interaction with your family, then they respect that. The only time you have problems when you don't establish a standard.
That's right.
And so all of my family knows that business is one thing and family is something else. And I've had to tell a family member that, I appreciate you working in the business, but if you don't respect it as a business, then we can no longer be business. I hope we'll always be family and I'm gonna always love you. But, unless you shore up, then it can't work. So you tell 1 or 2 family members that the word gets around.
Word gets around.
Don't go on.
I ain't having this speech no more.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you that there is so important because it's no different than friends. So I've been in establishments where people just let their friends be at their business all day long. If that person is not an employee,
Customer.
It's, to me, it doesn't make sense. And so that's kind of why I asked that question. A part of a customer experience is they should not have to come in and ask you to stop talking to your friend to be serviced.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So all of that makes a difference. And it's good the way that you explained it in the most, to me, what makes the most sense is have the conversation beforehand with whomever, friend or family, and say, listen, this is my establishment. We can't have X, Y, Z. Just setting some boundaries and like you said, some standards so that people can recognize this is how she do business. We have to respect that, or we're not going to be allowed to visit or work there. That's important.
So I've worked with family quite a bit. In fact, one of my nieces has worked with me I imagine it's almost 20 years at our other local, beauty supply store. And over the years, other family members have worked there. But I've never had a problem working with family. They understand that business is business, and that this is and my word to them is that this is the real business. This is how I work, eat, and live. I don't have any other business. So you're going to respect this one, and I'm not going to let you destroy my means of making a living.
That's right.
It goes back to the whole communication process.
Yes, exactly.
How do you establish it in the first place?
Yes.
Right.
My stepmother, may she rest in paradise, I think I've said this before, she said, Josh, if you want to go speak and be in front of a lot of kids, it's okay to be funny.
Yeah.
Because I'm just hilarious. I can't help it.
You're funny.
It's just what I is. But she said you have to establish authority first.
Right.
Then you can be jokey.
Right.
But you can't go in there jokey.
Right. They won't take you serious.
Because that's how they're going to be dealing with you the whole time. So you got to be serious up front. Saying this is how it's going to be. These the rules. Because I get 3 rules.
Right.
I say everybody understand the rules. Let's work.
Okay.
And then the next time I come in, then I start telling jokes.
Yeah.
And then we start having a good time.
That's good. Yeah.
But you have to establish the authority first.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, that thing gonna go haywire.
It does.
Very
I agree with
quickly,
that.
too.
And plus, people respect you more for doing it in the first
Sure,
place. Yeah,
sure.
your family respects the fact that you gave them these guidelines.
Yeah.
That's another book you should write. Guidelines working with your family. La Familia. Act right or get stabbed at night.
Oh,
Dr.
God.
Seuss.
I hope not. That's going to get edited.
I know, right?
I'm keeping this in there. Act right or get stabbed at night. Out of my peer. Rainbow Bright Coalition. God dang it.
That's definitely being edited.
Rainbow
Okay?
Push.
They gonna think something wrong with you. Well, I agree with all of what you guys are saying. What's one of those ending experiences? So to wrap up an initial business relationship, what does that look like in your world? So they've booked their appointment, they've come in, they've been greeted, they've gone to the wash station, they're now sitting in your chair. What are some of those end interactions that kind of seal the deal of your excellence in customer service?
Well, communicating with them as I move toward the end of the service. As we talked about earlier, I'm constantly looking at the photo maybe that they sent, but I'm also conferring with them. Okay, is this what you like? Was this what you had in mind? Even down to just the final combing of it. Do you like it full? Do you like it flat? Do you like more swirls or curls in it? Because customers always have a vision of the end. And sometimes they can relay that to you, sometimes they can't. So constant communication as we near the end kind of assures to me that I've done the job correctly.
That's right.
And you know you've done it when you turn them around and they look in that mirror and they go,
oh my God.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly what I wanted.
That's right.
And that is where you get that reward. It's like I got just what you wanted.
Yeah. I agree.
And so, then it's time to pay.
Cash check, please.
Excellent.
Card.
I think that's so vital what you just said. So many people, and this is not just business, just people, period. They say, I'm giving you this, accept it, you're gonna like it.
Right.
Instead of not actually listening to what the person really wants.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even relationships, that is a big challenge.
Yeah.
Because the man may think he knows what the female wants, and the lady may be like,
That's a whole nother show.
You think you know,
That's a whole
but I know what
nother
I want.
show.
No, you don't, woman. You're gonna do it like this. I'm gonna do it like this, and then it gets all out of
It
control.
is gone, yeah.
Yeah.
It gets
Instead
out
of
of
the
control.
person saying, "What is it that you would like?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is this right? Or whatever. So that constant communication is
Yeah.
exemplary.
And
Oh, my
sometimes it's just minor adjustments.
Yes.
That's needed to make it right.
She's not putting it on just because we're on this podcast. I've experienced it myself, and her customers will say the same thing. And one thing I do want to go back to for a quick second is reviews. Guess what? If nobody knows you exist, then you're going to be out of business. So
Nobody will know you exist.
get customer reviews. You know, that's one thing we didn't talk a whole lot about, but it's no better way to know how good your customer service is until someone gives you a review about it. And trust me, it goes a long way with helping you grow as a professional, as well as letting other people know what they're going to experience when they come to you. So good stuff. And thanks again. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.